Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're studying for the Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting 9706 exam, you already know the stakes. You know that the difference between an average grade and a truly top-tier result doesn't come down to knowing basic definitions. It comes down to mastering the absolute most complex, multi-layered topics the examiners can throw at you. Today, we are setting the stage to uncover the hidden frameworks of this syllabus, and we're going entirely under the hood of one specific, high-stakes area: the preparation of ledger accounts. But we're not doing a standard textbook read-through. Absolutely not. Instead, we are looking strictly through the examiner's lens. We're going to deconstruct exactly what they are hunting for with their red pens, where thousands of candidates consistently bleed marks, and the advanced strategic frameworks you need to adopt right now to guarantee you maximize your score. Let's get to work. Okay, let's dive right into this by asking the ultimate question. Why does this specific topic cause so much panic and so many lost marks on exam day? Honestly, it's a recurring theme in the principal examiner feedback year after year after year. Multi-stage ledger analysis isn't just a simple math test. It is a rigorous, high-pressure test of your working memory and your ability to hold multiple moving financial parts in your head simultaneously. I see two types of students all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical, brilliant at memorizing formulas, but totally freezes when an open-ended evaluation is required. Sam is the creative thinker, great at the broad arguments, but loses massive points on structural precision and timing. Both struggle here because they treat each ledger transaction as an isolated event, rather than a living, breathing part of a larger, interconnected financial ecosystem. When you are under severe time pressure, the cognitive load of tracking entries across multiple stages, making sure your balances carry over perfectly, and maintaining flawless formatting, it can be totally overwhelming. But recognizing exactly why it's a cognitive trap is your very first step to outsmarting it. And outsmarting it really isn't optional, because this single topic accounts for approximately 15% of the total marks in Paper 2. Think about that for a second. 15%. That is a massive chunk of your final grade riding on this one specific skill set. It's literally the difference between jumping up an entire grading band or falling behind. It makes the preparation of ledger accounts an absolute, non-negotiable must-master for any serious candidate. You simply cannot afford to skim over the finer details or tell yourself that a kind of okay understanding will get you through. It won't. When you realize that 15% of your exam depends on this singular topic, it should completely shift how you allocate your time, how you prioritize your study sessions, and how aggressively you approach your past paper practice. To tackle this massive topic, we're going to use a 5-part roadmap today. First, we'll unpack the 15% stake. Second, we'll cover core accounting principles. Third, the technical methodology. Fourth, we'll build a critical analysis framework. And fifth, we'll reveal the top examiner warnings. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the 15% stake. Now, what's really interesting here is that this massive 15% weight requires so much more than simple rote memorization. The examiners are absolutely not just giving away 15% of the paper for basic recall. They use this high tariff topic to test a much deeper level of comprehension. The syllabus actively, explicitly rewards candidates who can apply their knowledge to entirely brand new scenarios. You can't just memorize a standard T account layout and expect to blindly plug in numbers on exam day. It's a trap students like our highly technical Alex fall into all the time. Top performing students, however, demonstrate what the syllabus officially calls a connected conceptual understanding. What does that mean for you? It means when the exam throws a completely unfamiliar business context at you, maybe it's a highly unique partnership structure or a really weird manufacturing scenario you've never seen before, you don't panic, you don't freeze. Instead, you rely on the deep foundational concepts to guide your ledger preparation. You prove to the examiner that your knowledge isn't rigid, it is fully transferable. Moving on to Section 2, Core Accounting Principles. So you cannot build a high-scoring answer without a bulletproof theoretical foundation. And this brings us to a really vital comparison on how to think about the syllabus. Principal examiner reports continually hammer home the point that referencing causal relationships and integrating other syllabus areas yields significantly higher marks than treating topics in isolation. If you rely entirely on isolated topic knowledge, you are essentially answering the question in a vacuum. It's a low-tier approach. But when you leverage cross-topic connections, you are acknowledging to the examiner that a change in the ledger accounts directly impacts the financial statements down the line. It alters depreciation calculations. It shifts partnership capital balances. The examiners are specifically hunting for candidates who see the whole matrix, who understand this broader theoretical architecture. If you can draw these cross-topic connections in your working and explicitly state them in your written evaluations, you instantly elevate your script into the elite marking bands. All right, let's get into the mechanics. Section 3, the technical methodology. Okay, it is one thing to know the theory, but actually securing the marks on paper comes down to flawless execution. I want you to burn this into your brain. The method mark strategy is without a doubt your biggest secret weapon for the preparation of ledger accounts. Examiners desperately want to see your specific working, because marks in Cambridge accounting are heavily awarded for the analytical process itself. Think about this. Even if you make a calculation error on line 1 and your final balance brought down is completely objectively wrong, you can still secure the vast majority of the 15 marks for that question. How? Because of the own figure rule. If you clearly, logically document your analytical process, the examiner will actually take your incorrect number, follow it through your flawlessly executed methodology, and award you all the method marks along the way. It's incredible. But, and this is a massive but, if your working is hidden, or if it's just a messy brain dump in the margins, they cannot reward your process, and you lose everything. Before we break down the absolute hardest part of this procedural sequence, which is bridging the gap between executing the math and perfectly presenting it, I'm going to pause our session for a quick second. Crushing Cambridge exams requires a consistent week-by-week strategy. So right now, I want you to hit the subscribe button for the channel, Ace the Exams IGCSE O and A levels. That's at acetheexam_IGCSE, and enable all notifications so you never miss our weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies. Okay, let's get back to it. This execution requires a highly systematic 5-step sequence. Identify, apply, execute, verify, and present. When you're tackling a massive data set in the stimulus materials, you do not just start writing. First, you identify the key elements you actually need, ruthlessly ignoring the distractors. Second, you select and apply the relevant accounting principles. Third, you execute your analysis with that crystal clear working we just talked about. Fourth, and this is the cognitive strategy to get unstuck, top students take a breath to verify the results. Does this number actually make logical sense for a business this size? Finally, you present. This sequence ensures you aren't just blindly reacting to the paper, but systematically processing the data exactly how the examiner demands. And speaking of presenting, this is where students like our creative thinker Sam hit a major roadblock. Presentation follows strict unbending conventions. You must lock down proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and clear annotation to secure those technical marks. This is where easy, guaranteed marks are tragically lost every single year. A ledger account without a proper heading? Incomplete. Lacking the correct dates or using vague terminology for the balances brought down and cherried down? Mark denied. The syllabus demands rigorous standardization. Clear annotation shows the examiner exactly what you are doing, turning your exam script from a chaotic jumble of numbers into a professional, audit-ready financial record. You need to treat these formatting rules as free marks that you simply refuse to leave on the table. Let's elevate this. Section 4, Critical Analysis Framework. To hit those higher-order assessment objectives, the AO2 and AO3 criteria required for top-tier bands, we must move way beyond the math. Let's deconstruct the command word anatomy here. Top-scoring candidates don't just describe data. They demonstrate evaluative thinking by questioning assumptions and considering totally different perspectives. If a question asks you to explain or analyze the ledger accounts and you sit at the descriptive level, you are just repeating the numbers back to the examiner. That's a low-band trap. But if the command word is evaluate, or to what extent, you have to jump to the evaluative level. This means looking at your calculated data and actively interrogating it. What are the underlying assumptions the business is making here? Is this valuation actually realistic in a real-world scenario? What are the alternative approaches? You absolutely must justify every single recommendation with hard, quantitative evidence extracted directly from your ledger calculations. So here is your exact visual workshop checklist for high-level evaluation. Imagine a poorly written student answer on the screen right now. Your job is to spot the flaws. Usually the flaw is that they take the data at face value. When you evaluate evidence quality, you need to systematically deconstruct the problem. First, point out the limitations of the data provided in the prompt. What aren't they telling you? Second, explicitly state any assumptions you had to make to solve the ledger problem. Third, offer alternative interpretations. For example, could this specific financial data be viewed as a positive by an aggressive investor, but as a major red flag by a conservative bank manager? And finally, assess how these varying factors affect your final conclusions. Deploying this exact framework transforms a basic, middle-of-the-road answer into a highly sophisticated, top-tier response that examiners love to read. Finally, let's look at the pitfalls. Section 5, Top Examiner Warnings. Opening up the principal examiner reports is like reading the examiner's diary. It reveals the exact traps that catch students off guard every single cycle. These reports are pure gold mines, telling us precisely what the people grading your paper are most frustrated by. Here are the top 3 mistakes directly from their feedback: vague details, messy presentation, and a total lack of business context. We've hammered presentation already, but let's talk about vagueness. Examiners demand specific, laser-focused details. If you write, "the business will lose money," that is incredibly vague, 0 marks. If you write, "the business will suffer a severe liquidity constraint due to the specific cash outflow recorded in the suspense account ledger," that is precise. That gets the mark. And most importantly, ignoring the specific context of the stimulus material means you are answering a theoretical question in your head, not the actual exam question sitting right in front of you. To avoid these traps, I want you to use this memory hack on exam day: VFC, vague, format, context. Think of this as your last 5 minutes review checklist. When you finish a massive 15-mark question and you have those crucial final 5 minutes to review your paper, you need to ruthlessly run the VFC checklist in your head. Ask yourself, are my written explanations vague? Is my format strictly adhering to Cambridge accounting conventions? Have I actively linked my final conclusion back to the specific context of this particular business? If you can confidently pass the VFC check, you have likely secured a very, very strong mark. And this brings us to this crucial quote, direct from an examiner alert. You can execute the math perfectly, flawlessly even, but if you provide a generic, copy-pasted answer that ignores the specific scenario of the business in the prompt, you will lose the evaluation marks. The examiners are explicitly warning us right here. They absolutely do not want to read a memorized textbook definition of why a ledger account is useful. They want to know what this specific ledger account means for this specific business, which is facing these specific financial challenges. Always, always, always link every single analytical point and every single calculation back to the unique scenario provided in your paper. That is how you unlock the top band. As we wrap up this masterclass, I want you to ask yourself a serious question. How are you going to adopt this insider methodology to completely transform your next past paper practice session? Are you going to keep making the same VFC mistakes, or are you going to leverage the method mark strategy to prove your analytical mastery and lock in that crucial 15%? Let's synthesize everything into 3 core pillars. Remember your 3-step question scan, balance your technical methodology with your evaluative arguments, and never skip the last 5 minutes VFC review checklist. The choice of how you prep is entirely yours. Now, crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent strategy. So right now, hit the subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels. That is at acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell for future elite exam hacks. And before you click away, leave a comment down below with your exact target grade. Put it out there. Start applying these frameworks today. Go destroy those past papers, and I will see you in the next one.